Hey, everybody. Welcome to Soul Chats with Psychic Medium Dani Jo. I'm excited to be here with you tonight. Solo, no guests tonight. So as you're finding me live here, go ahead and say hello and let me know that you are watching. And also for anybody who's unfamiliar with StreamYard, you have to give them permission to allow your name to appear. But I will also log in here so I can see who's watching. Hello, hello. Thank you. It was a nice Christmas. Crazy like always, as I'm sure it was for most of you. Hi, Ladine. Hi, Deanna. Hi, Kayla. Good to see everybody. Anyway, it's been a while, I feel like, since I've had a podcast, and been a while since I've had a solo podcast. So I'm excited to see you here tonight. Everybody can hear me okay? Make sure my volume's working and that I'm not just randomly chatting to myself. Hi, Amy. Hi, Milton. Hi, Karen. Good to see you all. So I was thinking about a topic for tonight, and one of the things I thought I would chat with you about is all of the different types of services that I do and what those look like and what that means for you if you were interested in checking those out. So hi, Karen. Hi, Brianna. Hi, Peggy. Most of you know I have a lot of things going on all the time, but working one-on-one with my clients is a blessing for me. So if you go to my website, which is psychicmediumdanijo.com, you're going to see a button that says services. And if you click on that services button, it's going to show you an entire list of services. A little tiny feather just fell right in front of me. I cannot make this up. Can I pick it up? I don't know if you can see it right there on my finger. Tiny little feather. Anyway, each service talks about what to expect, how to prepare, and gives you some information on that services page. But let's just go down the services and I'll explain them to you. So a private reading is the most typical thing that people book. And a private reading is just a session for one person. Most of my sessions can be booked in 30 or 60 minutes. And that's the same with a private reading. Also, if you want to kind of combine some things and you're hoping to do more than one thing, just booking a private reading is perfectly fine. And then letting me know when we get started. And I usually ask just kind of what you are interested in. So typically a private reading is going to be more mediumship, where we are bringing through messages from loved ones. But again, we can use that private reading for anything. So life guidance, spiritual mentoring, or a combination of things, like I said. So mediumship, for those of you that are not familiar with that, or maybe have never watched me work or had a session, mediumship is when we are connecting to the loved ones that are on the other side for you. Also could be friends, coworkers, neighbors, people that you've encountered in your life. And these people are going to give me a fairly good amount of detail that helps you understand who that is. Some people are, some spirits are better at communication than others, and that's just as valid in life as it is in spirit. So some of them will give great detail in their information and some will not. Either way, generally you'll be able to tell who it is unless it's someone that you have to think about and figure it out later. So that's basically a private reading, okay? Second session I want to talk about is what we call life guidance. So my biggest piece of information I want to share with you about life guidance is that no medium, no intuitive, no psychic should ever tell you what to do. they are going to give you guidance in what might be the best outcome or the best choice. But you still have to make your own life decisions because it's your life that you're living. And you have to learn your lessons from the decisions that you make, not based solely on someone else's decisions. So when you get guidance from anyone, you should just take that into account and still make your own decisions for yourself. So I'll give you an example. I had a client who came to me and I didn't remember seeing her before, but she said, I saw you a year ago and you had given me some guidance that I was going to meet 2 men and that I was not supposed to go for the bald guy. And she said, well, I went for the bald guy and now he's a stalker. So I didn't give her a hard time about that. I didn't, I told you so. Of course, I don't remember anyway. Basically, what I explained to her was that you must have needed that lesson for some reason. And now we course correct and move in a better direction. And what did you learn from that? What can you take away from that situation? Of course, having a stalker is not an ideal situation, but she eventually got that under control. So just things to think about. Life guidance can be about anything. It can be about your health, your future, career, children, relationship guidance. And really, how do I do that is just the same as tuning in to loved ones that are on the other side. I tune into energy and energy fields around people. And I see sometimes the different outcomes and which one feels more conducive or desirable for you, or which one might be a harder lesson. So based on those feelings and things that I see, I will give you that information. And oftentimes I'll use cards when I do life guidance as well. So those are just kind of a couple of ways that I do guidance. How about energy healing? Is there anyone here watching who has never had energy healing before? I'll explain that. So a lot of people refer to energy healing or energy work as Reiki. Now, I work as a shaman, and what I do is use all of the tools in my toolbox to work with my client. So I am a certified Reiki master. I do soul retrieval. I do regression work, hypnotherapy work. And so with all of those tools, I usually work with my client in the way that feels appropriate. So I don't usually do straight Reiki or straight hypnotherapy. It's just kind of a combined session for what I feel you need at the time. So I just kind of tune into spirit. So thanks for commenting, ladies. I want to explain that our energy centers are called chakras. You've maybe heard that term. And there's 7 main energy centers where we store information or trauma or memory. And what happens is those energy centers get overburdened by the things that they're storing, or they get out of balance. And so we need to learn how to clear that and send that energy back to the earth and give forgiveness and do all the clearing ourselves. But until we learn how to do that, we can have that facilitated by someone who can help us with that. So an energy healer is a person who can move energy for you or help you move that energy. So oftentimes we'll find that chronic pain in the body is associated with a memory or a past life or an emotion. And so when we can tap into, why does my shoulder hurt? Well, I'm associating it with the color blue. Okay. What emotion comes with that color blue? Heaviness. Okay. What in your life is feeling heavy now? So then we work towards releasing that or allowing that to go. So it can be pretty beneficial if you're feeling stuck, or if you're feeling down, or if you're feeling like you're having some health issues. Now, your spiritual and physical body are connected. So if you have a spiritual problem, it's going to affect your physical body and vice versa. And so we have to work with both of those bodies to heal the whole of the person, the body, mind, and spirit. So energy healing can be very beneficial. If I could have it done every day, I would have it done every day. And yes, I go and have energy healing too with my very good friend, Shell. Okay, spiritual mentoring. This service is for me to work one-on-one with clients in regards to their own spiritual growth. Now, maybe you just have questions about religion versus spirituality and you want to talk about that. Or maybe you want to know what are your gifts that you're strong at or that you were born with, or, what is your life meant to consist of? What are you supposed to do in this lifetime? All of those things can be discussed in a spiritual mentoring session, or that's what it's meant for. Spirit will answer a lot of questions. Sometimes they will not give us all the pieces to the puzzle because you have to still live your life and go through certain things. So they're not just going to give us all the answers to the test, right? But they can give us a very big help in having some clues to that or knowing a lot of information. And so I can oftentimes get a lot of information about what you may have done in past lifetimes, what you might be strong at in this lifetime, and so on and so forth. I love when I'm working with clients and they want to talk about their future and what they're going to do for work. And I know what they're supposed to do, and I know they're not going to want to do that work. And so when I tell them, this is the soul path you should be on, and they're like, no way. And I knew they were going to say that because it's so far out of their realm of thinking of something they would want to do, but it's what would bring their soul the most happiness or soul completion in a project or a path or a journey. So kind of interesting. Again, though, people have to make their own choices. So just because I said this is what you should be doing doesn't mean that's what you have to do. It's just probably going to get them to their goal in this lifetime quicker. Okay, spirit guide session. I love working with spirit guides. I feel like most people have no clue that they have this amazing spiritual team of advisors. And spirit guides are souls who were human at one point, but they have graduated the human experience to move on to be a spirit guide for you. So they don't have to keep reincarnating here on Earth like the rest of us that are still learning. And they basically are like teachers and mentors and advisors for us. But unless someone tells you they're there, you don't realize that you can work with them. And they're the ones who give you those gut feelings of, I should turn here, or I should go to Washington, D.C., or I should go back to school, or I should leave my partner. Whatever those gut feelings are typically coming from your spirit guides. And they are kind of working through you to help you get on the right path or stay on the right path and go in the direction you're meant to go in. So anybody watching, never connect with a spirit guide. Don't be afraid to comment. I know there's a lot of clients who have never connected with a spirit guide. So just for example, in a 30-minute session of spirit guide work, I will probably connect with 1 to 3 spirit guides for you, describe what they look like, give you their names most of the time, and where they were from or what they did in their lifetime and how they're working with you. Sometimes they will also show me animals that they show up as, color that they show up as, and bring through their personality. Some of them, well, they're very unique, just like we are. So I can kind of connect with that. Now, if you do an hour-long session, it might also include some life guidance. We may tap into more guides and things like that. So spirit guides are fantastic souls to work with. They are like your personal cheerleaders. When you're having a bad day, when you don't feel supported, when you feel like you're carrying all the burden alone, they want to help you. They want to work with you. And if you will meditate and talk to them, you can actually have an entire relationship with them in the spiritual sense, where they can bring you comfort, help you make decisions based on your own gut feelings, and also kind of lead you in the right direction. They can also be very hard on you if you're not doing what you need to be doing, because my spirit guides have kind of drew the line in the sand with me more than one time. I remember one of my guides one time telling me, if you want it bad enough, work for it. And that was when I was asking, how do I make this? How do I find my determination for this when I haven't in the past? And they said, if you want it bad enough, you'll work for it. And that was a great motivation. I needed to hear that, but it was hard to hear. It's like a strict parent, right? Giving you a little bit of tough love. Anybody had their reading done with Leanne Higgs in the UK, had a spirit guide portrait done? I have a few of them. I don't have any in this room, or I would show you one. She's drawn a few of my spirit guides, and she works all with her fingers. It's amazing. It's amazing. I have a podcast with her, so if you haven't met her, go watch the podcast with her. Awesome, Josh. Awesome. Very cool. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, and feel free to ask any questions as I go here if you want me to elaborate on something, or if you just have a basic question, that's okay too. But let's talk just a little bit about soul retrieval work. So this is kind of an interesting service or session that I do with clients. So as I have worked on my healing journey, I have found different tools that work. And so again, like I said, you know, I go to my toolbox and help people in the way that they need at the time. Sometimes a client will book a soul retrieval and they won't need the soul retrieval at the time. So then we just do what spirit shows me is best for them. Or maybe they book energy work and we end up doing soul retrieval. I always just listen to spirit and, of course, work in your highest good. Oh, nice, Deb. That's awesome. So soul retrieval is basically a session where, as a shaman or a healer, I work with power animals, and I actually work with the bear and the eagle to do soul retrieval work. And so for me, I set a sacred space and I get everything ready. I get you comfortable. And what I do is, by being connected to you, by putting my hand over your arm or touching arm to arm, some way we're touching. And what I do is I journey for you. So I go to the non-ordinary reality, which is the spirit realm. And what I do there is I go to a beautiful fountain, a water fountain in this field of green. And bear and eagle meet me there. And if they don't meet me there, I know that it's not appropriate to do soul retrieval work for you at that time. Yes, we should do it, Rose. So when I go to the fountain and bear and eagle come, usually bear is the leader. Sometimes eagle will take me, but almost always it's bear. And what happens is we run through the forest. And as we're running through the forest, or walking isn't always urgent, but I know that they are taking me to parts of your soul that disconnected from your soul during a trauma or a traumatic episode. So this could be anywhere from birth up to the age that you are now. And we all have a lot of trauma. So in one session, they may take me to 3 to 5 places for you. I will see you at the age that you were. I will sometimes know what the experience is about or have some information about it. Sometimes I get no information. It's not for me to know. And when I encounter that part of you, I see it as a human being. So if I see 5-year-old Dani Jo, I am communicating with 5-year-old Dani Jo, and I'm asking her, are you ready to come back? And 90% of the time they say yes. A small part of the time they say no, or they're hesitant. And I ask them, Why are you hesitant, or what would make you ready to come back? They have most often told me that the person that they're coming back to themselves is either not standing up for themselves or doing the things to protect themselves or doing the self-love work. And so they fear that if they come back, they will just end up being separated again. So then afterwards, I would have a conversation with the client about that, how important it is to, you know, fight for yourself, stand up for yourself, protect yourself, things like this. And I have seen things from birth trauma to being yelled at in the garage when it wasn't really about the child, but it was traumatic because they didn't understand why their dad was so loud and angry. I have seen sexual abuse trauma, divorce trauma, domestic violence trauma, self-harm trauma, so many different traumas that affect people. And of course, in those moments, I am just working for you as a healer to bring those parts back to you. There's no judgment or no conversation about it. I'm just asking and intending to bring those beautiful parts of you that have separated back. And so I'll gather those parts. I'll go and gather those versions of you that are ready to come back. And then again, I kind of work with you based on what spirit shows me, but I will most likely have you visualize yourself at those ages. See yourself, see 5-year-old Dani Jo coming back to you. Embrace her in a hug and hold her tight. Tell her you're thankful to have her back. And so we just kind of welcome all those parts of you back while I'm doing some shaman experiences around you, blowing energy back into you, clearing energy, sealing up energy. And so it's really a beautiful experience of kind of welcoming back those parts of you. Now, why do we only bring back 3 to 5 parts at a time? That's a lot of trauma to heal. That's a lot of trauma to bring back, to overcome. And so we don't do more than 3 to 5 ever. I've never had a client who was ready for more than 5 parts to come back, or spirit just hasn't allowed that to happen. So kind of a cool experience. And we could have soul retrieval done more than once because, like I said, we have a lot of trauma in our lifetime. Hello, Lori. Hello, Judy. I have a couple of questions here I want to take. Lori asked, if we reincarnate, how do we connect with those who have passed? Wouldn't they be back on Earth? So that is a fantastic question, Lori. I hope you're still watching because I want to answer this for you. So to explain it in simple terms, our soul is connected to the higher self, which is an energy that's kind of above our head, okay? The higher self is connected to the divine energy. So it's kind of like we have our soul in our body, the higher self is just above, it's the wisdom, and then the divine wisdom. And so when we reincarnate, the soul comes back, but the higher self is always still accessible. So we can still communicate with the soul who would have been your loved one, even if they have reincarnated. What I have found to be a common experience in that case is that I get less information and it feels harder to connect at first. So oftentimes I'll know, oh, this person has reincarnated, or they'll tell me that before we get started. So very good question. Thank you for asking. And Julie, I would love to answer this question for you, but also let me ask this. You ask, what role does God play in all of this? Do you mean specifically each of my services or sessions or in my life? And I'll start answering this before you respond. So I feel like if you asked me, what does God represent for me? God represents that greater energy, that whole energy, the divine existence. And it makes up the whole of all of us. Like we are all a part of that energy as well. And so as souls, we are trying to achieve a higher vibrational existence to be more godlike. And when we do that, eventually we'll all be back as that whole energy, that universal energy. Now, God in religion, where there's a lot of religion-based teachings of fear and punishment and all of those things, I personally don't honor that in my belief systems. I believe that God is all loving energy, all loving. There's no fear, there's no negativity. And so where religion kind of plays into that is that religion will often create a fear base revolving around God. And I don't believe that God has anything to do with fear. So in my mind, God is the higher power, which I also call spirit, which I also call the divine, which I also call universe. So many people might see that the same way. They might see it differently. I believe that we have all of the saints and angels, the archangels, Jesus, Mother Mary, all the apostles, these beings, these souls and saints all lived for great purposes, and that they are some of the masters and teachers that we work with. And I think that that's an amazing thing. I think that Jesus was a shaman, a healer, and I think that we are all born to be that as well. We all have that divine energy within us. Okay. So if I didn't answer your question, let me know. But all of my work is done on a basis of wanting to leave people better than I found them, helping them learn to heal, helping them let go of fear, resentment, regret, anger, hate, and learning forgiveness and love and acceptance. And again, that's what I feel like God encompasses, is all the positive traits. Okay. We can see that as light and dark, or good and bad, or God versus the devil. All right, next service that I do is regression work. So that's listed as one, but there's two types of regression work under that: past life regression and age regression. And here's the difference. So with both of these, I'm going to work with a little bit of hypnotherapy to get you relaxed. When I do hypnotherapy, it's just basically getting you into a relaxed state so that your mind will quiet down and get out of the way for you. You're not going to balk like a chicken or not remember anything. That's definitely not how it works. And so to do past life regression, I typically have a conversation with a client when they book this or at the beginning of their session, because to do past life regression work, you have to be good at visualizing, or you have to allow yourself to visualize in your mind to go back to those places where we need to do the healing work. And if you can't get yourself there, I can tap into some past lives and tell you what they were, what you were overcoming, what you still need to overcome. And I can kind of do that for you, but we can't do the healing work per se unless I have you visualize and go back and give forgiveness. So sometimes clients aren't sure if they are good at visualizing, so we'll give it a try. And if it doesn't work, then we switch to the method of me tapping into past lives that you need to know about. So here's an example of how that works as well. I had a client who had chronic neck pain, and she asked me if we could work on that. And I said, absolutely. Of course, trusting spirit would know what she needed. And so what happened was I walked her back in time and through some visualization techniques. And what happened was she ended up in a scene where she was a woman in a bedroom sitting on the edge of a bed while a man was pacing back and forth. And as I walked her through this and talked to her, she was describing to me that this felt like her husband or her partner, and he was angry and she was afraid. And then what happened was he strangled her to death. So in the midst of this, I had her do some healing with this. So I had her step in as herself, comfort the woman, work on giving forgiveness, knowing that we will live again, that our souls are eternal. So basically, we rewrite the script for what happened there to release the pain associated with it. And it actually physically removed the pain from her neck. So it was pretty interesting to see how that works. And that's typically what we'll see, is that it's associated with a physical pain, or maybe a scar or a birthmark. And as we work through that, it disappears if it's something physical. And if it's like a scar or birthmark, it definitely doesn't cause you any trauma. One of the most interesting experiences I had with past life was, I had told a client that she had starved to death in a previous lifetime. She had gotten stuck in a trap, a trapper's trap. And I didn't remember us talking about this. And maybe a year and a half later, we were doing another session. And she said, I don't know how it was brought up, but the long story short is, she was young and healthy and had children, and her tendon in her leg snapped out of the blue. No reason for it. Doctors don't know why it happened. And I said, that was the age that you got caught in the trapper's trap. And that's that lifetime you starved to death. So the soul memory of that happening to her physical body actually made it happen again, because it was so traumatic. And so when we have these weird random things happen in this lifetime, or like you're afraid you're going to have a heart attack at 50, but 50 comes and goes and it doesn't happen, it may have been the age that you were in another lifetime when you had a heart attack. So these things are all kind of connected and very interesting in how they affect us in this lifetime. Hi, Diane. Nice to see you. So anyway, that's past life regression. Age regression healing is where we work solely on this lifetime, where we take you through your physical body, where you're carrying traumas in the body where they are causing you pain and discomfort. So we will go back to different ages, kind of like the soul retrieval, but we rewrite those memories too. So if you see yourself being ridiculed by a teacher, we can rewrite that memory and release it. Sometimes you won't know these memories are there until we're in them. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember this happening, but you're seeing it. And then of course you remember it at that time. So that's very helpful in regards to healing your personal traumas and insecurities and fears. I had a client who was a young man who had trouble with food. He would only eat certain foods, and other foods he just absolutely wouldn't eat them. He basically limited himself to 5 different types of food. And I think he was about 19 when I worked with him, and his mom asked if I could help. And I said, well, I can sure try. What happened was we ended up doing age regression healing, took him back to the age of 5 in school, when a teacher had made him eat a bowl of stew and he didn't want it. And so in his mind, at that young age, he then decided he's going to control what he does and doesn't eat. And then this became a bit of an eating disorder. So we went back and gave forgiveness to that teacher. We had him rewrite the scene where she was giving him the choice to not eat it if he didn't want to. And it actually made a huge difference in his outcome. So kind of a cool experience. So the last one I want to talk about is SRT. And this is called spirit releasement therapy. So many of you have probably not read my new book called Illuminate the Dark, but I talk a lot about spirit releasement therapy in this book. So if you have interest in that or some of my personal stories, that book will be one to pick up. You can order it on our website and also on Amazon. But spirit releasement therapy is what happens when people have a human soul attached to them that has not crossed over into the light. Okay. So there are times when people die that they are afraid to go to the light, or maybe they're angry, or maybe they're confused. And so if they don't go to the light, they go to a place called the earthbound realm. Some people might call this purgatory. Some people might call it hell. I call it the earthbound realm. It's full of dark energy and human souls that are stuck. And so these human souls then are looking for a host, meaning a low vibration person who they can connect to live through. Not all of them, but many of them are looking for someone to live through so they can have that human experience, so they can enjoy food or cigarettes or whatever it is they liked when they were living. So this also applies to people who are having a dark entity attachment, which is where we see more of the exorcism type experience. And I do both. I do what people would consider is exorcism and spirit releasement therapy. And again, I use all my tools in my toolbox to kind of work with the client, their belief systems, what we have going on, and help facilitate a transition for whatever is connected to the people. Almost everyone who comes to me for spirit releasement therapy is aware that that's happening. I would never go out and approach someone and say, you have an attachment. They have either come to me because they believe that, or they're uncertain what's going on and they talk to me about it. And then we do the spirit releasement therapy and typically find something. I have seen all types of different entities, including souls that were confused and lost, to very dark entities who probably would scare people. But again, in the face of all of that, I have no fear because it is my life's work. And I work with the archangels for protection. And it's truly a blessing to see the change in people when they have an attachment to after removing that, and how much more clarity they have in life, and how the depression lifts, and how they take their life back. And so there's a lot of things that attachments can cause for people, physical as well as mental and emotional. Nobody likes to talk about that side of life, but it's a reality. And it's truly a blessing for me to be able to help people in that way. So those are all the different types of sessions that I do, as well as I teach mediumship in beginners and intermediate and advanced levels. I teach spirit releasement therapy. So it's called Liberation is what I teach. I also have my year-long class starting soon, Path of the Luminous Warrior. The doors are closed to this. You can't register till next year if you want to get in on 2025. And I actually have, I'm looking at some travel dates for the spring. So if you've requested me to come to a certain location, it's a possibility I'm coming. And I will be doing a shadow work retreat again. So the retreats that I do are a 2-night retreat. We go to a host location like an Airbnb or a cabin, and we do all of our activities there. And the shadow work retreat is actually fantastic for helping us embrace the dark within us, the negative traits, and all of those things. And I have hosted a shadow work retreat in the past, and I have some great reviews that I'll be sharing soon about that. I have just a couple of questions here. So Peggy asked, how would a person know if they have an unwanted attachment? So this is a great question. So the hard part about this is that there are different types of attachments, and they all get triggered differently. So my first line of defense when I'm working with a client, Peggy, is I pull out the Latin exorcism prayer on YouTube and I play that for someone. If I let that play for the 6 to 7 minutes that it's on and I don't get any response from them, I know that they don't most likely have a dark attachment. And then I move on to checking them for a human soul, a human attachment, a lost spirit. There's also what we call balls of energy that are like emotional attachments that are just traumas that have actually taken on a physical form that are hindering you. And often if I find those, we have to do some forgiveness work to remove them, but they're not a intelligent entity per se. So usually I put on the Latin exorcism prayer, and then from there I work on a client to see if they have a human attachment. All of that is talked about in my book, Illuminate the Dark, on how to check yourself, how to clear your space, how to, close portals and do different things like that. So if you have any interest in that, definitely pick it up. And Judy asked a great question. Can you do these through Zoom? So this gets tricky, and let me tell you why. I have done spirit releasement therapies that are much like the movies that you watch, that are dramatized and terrifying. And I have actually had a client almost choke to death. She turned purple. She couldn't breathe, and her neck got covered with the petechia, which is little dots when someone is suffocating. They're like little bruises. And had I not been there in person, that could have been a bad outcome. So I'm leery at best about doing them by Zoom, but I will do them through Zoom. But there are a lot of things that have to happen for that to be facilitated. So the person can't be alone, especially if I know it's going to be a dark attachment. And sometimes I know this ahead of time. Sometimes I can just tell by looking in someone's face if they have an attachment. And, there's a lot of people out there with attachments. I'll just say that. I've cleared attachments for myself many, many, many over the years. Yeah, you're welcome, Judy. But like I said, I have done them by Zoom, and I've done some that are pretty intense by Zoom. So it is something that can be done, but I am selective about that. Okay. So any other questions that you have about any of the services that I offer or what those look like? And if not, while I'm waiting for you to answer, if you have any questions, just a couple of things that I want to tell you. One of my goals for 2024 is to do more lives. So this will include Facebook and TikTok. So if you haven't followed me on either of those and you have those accounts, go follow me so you stay in contact. And then also, I am going to have a lot more classes on my website. If you go to my website now, you'll see class login. So we've gotten the basis set up for this for the Path of the Luminous Warrior course. But now all of the mini courses that I did that were the master classes, Spirit Guides and Angels, Space Clearing, Meditation and Mindfulness. There was a whole series of these. These are going to be classes that I'm going to record for my website that you can take at your convenience anytime. And then I will continue to add courses over time that will teach you different things, and you can work at your own pace. So I'm excited for 2024 for that. The other thing is, if you have not checked it out recently, Shirley Speaks, our nonprofit, is getting a website revamp. And so here in the next 2 weeks, that will go live, and it's going to be fantastic. And we've been doing some great things there and helping survivors of domestic violence. So super proud of that too. All right, I don't see too many. Oh, one more question. Alex asked, can you communicate with a past pet? Yes, that actually is something that happens often in a mediumship reading. And I've connected with dogs and cats and horses and hamsters and pigs and birds. I've actually connected with a lot of different types of animals. And one time I had an animal come through that I was sure was a baby, and the client was laughing because they knew it was the dog, and I was certain it was a baby. And anyway, we ended up making the connection with the dog, but the dog literally wanted to be seen as a baby. So it was kind of a cool experience. So yes, I do connections with pets as well. I can also do connections with living pets to give some guidance on what the pet is feeling or what they like or don't like, or maybe if they're going to have some health issues, what might be beneficial for them. Cool. Well, I don't know who else still here. Oh, I'm sorry, Alex. It was probably time though. I will guarantee you that little miss is very much at peace and probably snuggling with all of her former pet siblings. But yes, I would love to see you soon. Hey, Jeannie. So I'm going to do just a couple of things real quick. So if you're still watching, because I can't tell by the number who's here, just put your name in the comments really quick or say hello to me really quick. And I'll do a couple of quick readings for you guys. I'm not going to do mediumship, but I'm going to do some aura sensing or some energy sensing, some mentoring. So we got all kinds of people, Parrish and Tracy and Ladine and Lori. Okay. So I'm just going to go where spirit guides me. So just hang in here with me. So I'm just gonna give you what I'm getting. I'm gonna let spirit kind of guide me. So Lori O'Daniel, I'm drawn to your throat and your third eye chakra. So communication and wisdom. I'm feeling like there's been a block in this somewhere recently where you either haven't been able to communicate what you need to with someone, or you're not being honest with yourself about something. And the purple is really wanting me to tell you that you should be growing your intuition. You should be working on your abilities, your psychic abilities, your wisdom abilities. So more meditation if you're not doing that. But I see a lot of blue and purple around you, and I feel like the throat is needing some clearing. So definitely work on that. You can just sit and visualize the blue color in your throat area, or do like a chakra meditation on YouTube and focus on the blue while you're there. Okay. All right, let's see. Kayla, I'm seeing the root chakra out of balance for you. I feel like, I don't know if you've been going, but I feel like it's time to slow down and put some roots down into the earth, let go of all the things that have been keeping you busy, and really ground yourself well. So the red chakra, the root chakra around your tailbone and hips, is a little bit out of balance. Ladine, I'm seeing a little bit of a gray and darker color around you. This probably is either brain fog from being sick, or it could be like depression from the holidays or being mentally sad about something. This is going to lift, but make sure that you do things that raise your vibration and make you feel good. All right. Rose, when I stop on your name, I see a past life for you. And I see you in very almost like 1920s era, could be even further back than that, but very much like the flapper and the long cigarettes and the hats, and very, how do I say that? Sophisticated lifestyle, but also a lot of heaviness with that lifetime loss. And I feel like it's interesting because you work with history, and I feel like having your hands in history all the time actually makes that loss more pronounced for you. So you may feel loss all the time, even though you haven't had a recent loss. So something for you to think about, just being around history and artifacts actually can be hard for your energy. Just learn how to ground and clear yourself well. but I definitely see a lifetime of sophistication and money, but then a hard loss in that lifetime. All right. Lori J, I see you in a lifetime where you would have been a bigger person. And so I feel like weight is always a focus for you or a worry, even though I don't feel like you have anything to worry about in this lifetime. I definitely feel like that affected you negatively in another lifetime. Whatever you were trying to overcome with that, though, you have overcame it. And so don't let that hold you back. Don't let weight or the worry about weight hold you back. You're past whatever that issue was. And I definitely feel more than one lifetime working with animals, but more, I would say more like farm animals, not just domesticated animals. So you have a love of all types of animals. Hey, you're welcome. Karen Red Fox, I see, this is probably going to, hopefully this doesn't bother you or upset you, but I believe that you were murdered by a serial killer in a previous lifetime. I feel like it would be one that would be known in history, like we would know this serial killer from like the 1800s or early 1900s. And I definitely feel like if you have an interest in like true crime or when someone goes missing, this would be because of that lifetime. So just know the connection there, but also where it creates a little bit of fear or worry, like, am I safe? Am I going to be okay? But I definitely feel that connection for you. I see you looking in a mirror, like you're looking behind a big truck. And I just see the terror in your face. So I know that you would have lost your life to a serial killer at one point. It was probably very traumatic, but don't let that hold you back. Okay. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's see. Maybe I'll do one or two more here. Carol Marie, when I focus on your image, I'm getting what feels like a grandmother in this lifetime, and it could be mom, I could be incorrect here, but a grandmother or mom in this lifetime who you would have been extremely close with. You were sisters in another lifetime. And there was this feeling of obligation of wanting to take care of that person or vice versa. And so the obligation and love in this lifetime was very strong. And so when that person would have left this world, it would have been very hard for you. So hopefully that resonates with you and you know who that person is for you. Yeah, crazy, huh, Karen? I think that it's interesting how many people have such traumatic deaths, but you know, if you think about it, more and more we are moving away from traumatic deaths, but in years past, there were a lot of traumatic deaths. Most people died traumatically before, 1900. Okay, hold on. One more. You're welcome, Carol. Parrish, when I look at your photo, I definitely feel like you have a lifetime of teaching. And so I definitely feel like you like structure and order. And I feel like having some trouble with your eyes in this lifetime is telling you that there's something you're not seeing. So you might need to sit with that. What am I not seeing? And it could be something from a past life that you need to remember that will help you in this lifetime. But believing in yourself is a big part of that. And also, I'm seeing the need for a little bit of fun and laughter around you. So a little bit of heaviness on the heart, where I feel like a pink and a green color are mixing. Those are both heart chakra colors, but a need for some playfulness. So let yourself have some fun. Don't be serious all the time. Just know there's a lot of love coming through with that. Okay. So just some of what I kind of jumped into there was kind of bouncing around to kind of let spirit guide me, where I did a little bit of life guidance and energy sensing and past life work. So I feel like it's all a part of the same process. Like it's not different to do one of those services versus another. It's just the way that I connect the information might change a little bit. But also I want to answer this question because I feel like someone is thinking it. So people always want to know this, like, are you exhausted? Does this exhaust you? And while the human body might get tired, or I might get a little bit of a headache if I'm not well hydrated, I never per se get tired, because I'm plugged in to that universal or source energy at all times when I work. And so it's actually kind of like having a little bit of a buzz of energy when I'm done. So again, I can tell I'm a little bit dehydrated because the little bit of a headache is starting, but that's fixable with water and magnesium. So the answer is no, I don't necessarily get tired. But anyway, I hope that some of this information will be valuable to you, that my perception of things helps you think about things in an open-minded way. None of us truly know all the answers until we get where we're going. But want you to know it was an honor to be here with you tonight. And I hope that you have a fabulous new year. Please watch for more information on the lives and the retreats. And don't forget to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't yet. I have a lot of meditations up there, including 1 or 2 8-hour sleep ones, and a lot of my podcasts up there too. So check it out on YouTube. And thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. And I will see you next time. Stay safe. Love you all. You're welcome.